next is recent, I mean, Companies Act 2013 has also introduced some clarification, some kind of, it has removed certain loopholes what the earlier act was carrying. As earlier the company was simply declaring the dividend, rate of dividend 30%, 20%, 50%, etc., etc. But now the new act has emphasized, besides the rate of dividend, the company should also make the things more simpler to for the understanding of the shareholders. So now onwards, whenever the company or the board of directors will declare dividend, they have to say what exactly is the dividend per share the company is going to pay besides the rate of dividend. So the new act, what I can say, it is making the things more simpler, because earlier when the company was declaring just a rate of percentage, that was creating a confusion exactly what the company is paying. So this new act 2013 has cleared that loopholes. Now coming to unpaid dividend account under section 124. So it is already there in the Companies Act. If there is a dividend not paid for a prescribed period, then that amount has to be to be separated from the normal bank account, and it has to be kept in a separate bank account to be opened in a scheduled bank. This is what the unpaid dividend account section 124 talks about. Now coming to section 125, okay, which talks about the Investors Education and Protection Fund. So here the government has already set up a fund, basically as the name speaks. This fund, this body, in Investor Education and Protection Fund, this body is going to protect the investors when their investors are into trouble. Maybe there is some kind of money they are blocked, or it is blocked because of some wrong things, or maybe the depository or the agent has not played a good role, or the company has become defunct, and etc., etc. So in that case, whatever the compensation of the shareholders, they would be asking. So if there is any difficulty, what the company suppose is not in a position to pay, so that Investors Education and Protection Fund is going to help the investors. So that will definitely boost the spirit of the investors to rely on the capital market. Similarly, this fund is very instrumental nowadays. As we see in our colleges, lot of companies have come, or they are coming to the campuses, and they are saying ki we are going to educate your students. So definitely investors education is also required, because as we understand, as we have been investing in stock market, I mean, things are not so easy, So that's why the investors, and particularly the people who are not knowing how the stock market plays, how the stock market is to be invested. So this fund money is being invested or being used by the government to educate also the investors, so that people will develop some kind of expertise as to how to play in this market. Also at the same time, okay, I mean, definitely people can make money. Okay. Now next section with regard to dividend is section 126, that talks about the dividend, even also rights shares and bonus shares. As we know, if you look at the rights of the equity shareholders, they have their right to attend the AGM. Even when the company has declared dividend, immediately they have got a right to those dividend. Okay. And similarly, when the company is going to declare rights issue, these rights issue or rights equity shares are generally to be offered to the existing shareholders. Similarly, the bonus shares, when the company is proposing to issue, so in that case, the first right definitely, or the bonus shares are to be issued first to the the existing equity shareholders. So what I want to say, that section 126 is very instrumentally saying that the existing shareholders, they have got a right to their dividend when the company declares. Similarly, when the company declares the right issue or right equity shares, that the equity shareholders, they have got a right on that. Similarly on the bonus shares. Now section 127, which relates to again dividend, that talks about the punishment for failure to distribute dividend. So lots of strict penalty. As we know that the officers in default who are involved in this non-compliance of their sections 123 to 126, okay, so they will be held liable. So there can be imprisonment which may extend to 2 years, and with a fine maybe also sometimes, and the fine can be 1,000 rupees per every day, for the period during which this default continues. And similarly, the company is supposed to pay also the 18% rate of interest on the amount not paid by the company to the shareholders. Okay. Now, this is the regulation part I just finished, that relating to dividend. But let us understand the analysis of section 123 to 127. If you critically examine this section 123 to 127, there are certain points which are very critical. Say for example, Yeah, the old Act 1956, that was very instrumental, saying companies sometimes can also pay dividend in spite of having even losses, But this act has a little very strict imposing on the company that in case if you have got a loss in a particular year, you are not supposed to dividend. You are not supposed to pay dividend. Okay, there are of course some other guidelines which are going to again facilitate this kind of prohibitions, but in a normal way, you can say that in case a company has got a loss, the company is not supposed to pay dividend. Now the second point is, when the company was also, in spite of losses, when the company was paying even dividend earlier, okay, the company was supposed to also transfer a particular percentage which should not exceed 10% of the profit, in case the company has got a profit, to the reserve. So whenever the company is going to pay dividend, the earlier rule was the company was supposed to transfer a particular percentage of the profit to the reserve. That was earlier 10%. Now this 10% has been done away with by the new Companies Act, and the company either can transfer any amount or even no amount to reserves, when the company is planning to pay dividend. But yes, as I said earlier, in case the company has got a loss, the company is not supposed to make dividend payment. Similarly, company can pay dividend only out of free reserves only. Okay, the interim dividend, when the company is declaring, whenever interim dividend is dividend which is declared before the accounts are ready, before 31st March, when the accounts are going to be closed. Okay, so whenever the company has got an interim dividend, or company wants to declare interim dividend, company has to see that that there should not be losses in the previous quarter. Even the rate of interim dividend should not exceed also average rate of dividend declared in the last preceding 3 financial years. Okay, so even suppose a company has defaulted in complying to the rules and regulations of repayment of deposits, in that case the company cannot declare dividend. Similarly, this time the new things have come. The useful life or the residual value of the assets have to be specified in schedule, part C of the schedule 2. So if you look at now, if you look at the dividend, as I said already, 123 to 127. Okay, so this time the things are very strict. In case the company is having losses, the company is not supposed to declare dividend. And once the company declares dividend, it becomes the statutory obligation for the company to pay dividend.